Hello, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Mr. Rader, and this is the second video in the series on how to conduct legal research using Google Scholar. So in this lesson, we'll review a particular court case. We're going to look at the Citizens United versus the FEC. Your teacher may assign you to read in different case or may even encourage you to research a case independently on your own as it relates to the amicus brief assessment. So just a quick review, in case this is the first video in the series that you tuned in to watch, you'll want to think back to day 19 in Unit 2 of Participation in Government and thinking about how cases move through the judicial system. In our last video, part 1, we looked at how to identify the original court case and the appeals that led to the Supreme Court of the United States or SCOTUS case on Google Scholar. And in this video, we will take a look at step 2 on how to skim through the cases. I'll refresh your memories on how to search within a web page and how to look through relevant rights, arguments, and precedents. So when we look at our Extension C resource, we're going to scroll down to step 2, where we're going to skim each case and identify the relevant rights, arguments, and precedent. So to complete the step, you'll want to do the following. When a judge develops a legal argument to support their opinion, they use evidence from older rulings. And in our example, they're going to use several cases to really build their arguments. And they cite the previous cases as precedent. So what you'll want to do is access the link on your legal research organizer for step 1. You'll want to skim the case and you'll look for sections either titled discussion, memorandum, opinion, or judicial decisions. And where this isn't very obvious, what you'll want to do is use the search function on the web page to actually search for the word memorandum or opinion or judicial decisions. And this will allow us to look through the judge's opinions and complete the reflection component of our organizer, where we'll look specifically at the arguments that were used by the justices to base their decision. So if we scroll down in our legal research organizer, right, for this performance task, we'll take a look at step 2. And we're going to look at the case precedent or the case from 2008, which was appealed to the Supreme Court. And in the search bank, I just included a series of words, legal terms that could be used for additional research. So we have injunction, mood, unconstitutional, electioneering communications, chilling political speech, so on and so forth. In the reflection, we have to look at two things. We have to look on the one hand, what is the relationship between the constitutional right or characteristic of democracy and the question in the case? And we have to look at the arguments that the judges have made in the case that connects to the constitutional right at stake. So when responding to these kind of prompts, I always encourage my students to follow the TTQA strategy, which is turn that question around. And we can see just by rephrasing the statement, the relationship between the constitutional right of democracy and the question this case brings to SCOTUS is that of freedom of speech as protected in the First Amendment. And just including some of my notes, we have notes from the case that was appealed to the court and the original case. So in the 2010 Supreme Court decision, I excerpted arguments directly from the decision that was made, and I highlighted those key legal terms that could be used for subsequent searches. And then in the 2008 case, we did the same thing, where we looked at arguments being made in the case and relevant search terms that could be used for additional research in terms of understanding the materials. So let's take a look at the 2008 decision. And let's take a look at see how the court case is presented. So we see the plaintiff, we see the defendant, we see that it was brought to the U.S. District Court of District of Columbia in 2008. We see the individuals who are involved, who the attorneys are for each side. And we see the memorandum opinion in terms of breaking down the decision of the court. And we can see all the information that's included. So as a reminder, if you want to be able to skim through some of these questions that will appear, we can type in some of these words. So let's try electioneering and see how many times it appears. So I notice it first in footnote number 6, and then I see it also in footnote number 7, where the court was referencing a previous case. And we can see specifically how the court used that term in its responses. So when we go back to the original, we can see that it was related to definitions as it was included in what was called the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act of 2002, which sets the foundations for this particular case. So again, we could always type in a new term. We could type in opinion and see what kind of information we can get for the opinion of the court. And again, it breaks down the decision of the court. And we can also type in dissent and see if there was any particular entries for dissent. Seeing none, we'll go back to the legal organizer and we'll end by just introducing step 3, where we'll think through other cases that could resolve similar questions. And one last tool that I would like to show you before we end video 2 in our 3-part series on how to use Google Scholar for a legal research organizer. I want to show you another website that can be very, very useful just for getting the very basics of a court case, right? So if we look at this original decision, in this initial court case, it's a relatively long document. So if we want to just get the basic foundation, there is another website that your teacher may have shown you before. And if not, it's a really good resource. It's called Oyas. And we can type in any given case and figure out what the decisions were and what some of the basic facts of the case were about. This could be sort of like a pre-step to step 1 that can just tell you some of the very key information about the case itself. And then you could do the deeper dive into Google Scholar and really read the actual primary sources from the justices themselves. Okay, that'll do it for today in our second video. Stay tuned for part 3, where we will look at the third step in the protocol. All right, everybody have a great day.